delivers tension that builds from start to finish. Audra is one of Genoa City's eligible bachelorettes on The Young and the Restless. The sassy businesswoman can have her pick of any man. But there's one ex who still holds a special place in her heart. Key takeaways. Audra and Noah's relationship began in London. When Audra first arrived in GC, she tried to win Noah back, but he was with Ali. Noah and Audra have reconnected upon his return to GC. Audra seems to still be in love with Noah, which is a problem for Sienna. The one that got away. During Noah's, Lucas Adams, time in London, he fell in love with Audra, Zuleika Silver. But their relationship was far from romantic, and Audra ended up breaking Noah's heart. When Audra came to GC in 2022, she began making trouble for Noah, then Rory Gibson, and his new lady love, Ali, Kelsey Wang. Audra then revealed a secret to Noah. She had miscarried his baby. Noah and Audra made peace, then he left for Europe with Ali while Audra stayed in GC. 3 years later, the exes reconnected when Noah returned to town. Audra and Noah are still on friendly terms, and the chemistry is still there. But there's one problem. Noah's girlfriend, Sienna, Tamara Braun. Audra's trying to be respectful of Noah's relationship with Sienna, but it's obvious the two women don't care for each other. Sienna keeps an eye on Miss Charles whenever she's around Noah. Although Audra claims she's over Noah, fans know that's not true. Audra's admitted Noah is the one man she was happiest with. It was a mistake letting him go, and she wants to hold on to him any way she can. But friendship isn't going to be enough for Audra. She believes that if given another chance, she and Noah could make things work. Past secrets blow up the future. Any hope of a potential reunion with Noah could be blown up by Audra and Holden's, Nathan Owen's, secret. Years ago in LA, Audra stole money from an art dealer. When the man tracked Audra down to the shadow room, Holden came to her rescue by killing the dealer. The two covered up the murder and have since kept it a secret. But their past is about to be exposed now that Noah's opened the shadow room in GC. Being in the bar again brought back memories of that fateful night. Audra and Holden are already on edge, and their uneasiness will increase with their secret in danger of being exposed. Sienna knows what happened that night and holds the cards in destroying the pair's future. That's something she may do if Audra doesn't keep her distance from Noah. What really caught my attention is how fear begins to outweigh reason in this episode. Just revealed the one man Audra may never truly get over. The city of Genoa City had always been a place where love stories refused to stay buried. Secrets resurfaced. Old flames reignited. And hearts that seemed completely healed suddenly cracked open at the sight of one familiar face. For years, Audra Charles had built a reputation as someone who never looked back. She was ambitious, strategic, fearless. Most importantly, she never allowed anyone to believe they had power over her emotions. Not anymore. Those who knew her only recently assumed she had always been that way. The confident executive who walked into a boardroom and commanded attention. The woman who could outmaneuver rivals twice her age. The survivor who always landed on her feet. But there was a chapter of Audra's life very few people knew. A chapter she had locked away. A chapter tied to one man. And despite everything that had happened since then, despite every romance, every betrayal, every victory and every heartbreak, there were signs that this one man remained the ghost she could never quite escape. The realization began on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Audra sat alone in her office staring through the glass windows. Traffic crawled through downtown Genoa City. The storm clouds above mirrored her mood. For the first time in weeks, she wasn't thinking about business. She wasn't thinking about acquisitions. She wasn't thinking about power. She was thinking about a name she hadn't spoken aloud in years. Evan Mercer. The memory arrived unexpectedly. A scent. A song. A passing remark from a stranger. Something small had unlocked a door she thought was permanently sealed. Suddenly she was 23 again. Suddenly she wasn't the powerful woman everyone knew. She was just Audra. A young woman with impossible dreams and a heart she still believed was indestructible. Back then, everything had been different. She had arrived in New York with 2 suitcases and an oversized sense of confidence. She wanted success. She wanted recognition. She wanted a life larger than the one she'd left behind. What she hadn't expected was to meet Evan. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't connected. He wasn't the kind of man who could open doors professionally. In fact, he represented everything Audra usually avoided. He was genuine. Painfully genuine. While everyone else played games, Evan told the truth. While everyone else chased status, Evan chased meaning. And while Audra measured success in opportunities, Evan measured it in people. They met in the least glamorous way imaginable. A coffee shop. One spilled latte. One ruined presentation folder. And one argument that lasted nearly 20 minutes. By the end of it, both were laughing. The chemistry was immediate. Neither wanted to admit it. Neither could deny it. For months they became inseparable. Friends first. Then something more. Much more. Those who saw them together often remarked that Audra seemed different around him. Softer. Happier. Less guarded. Evan brought out a version of her that no one else ever managed to reach. He wasn't intimidated by her ambition. He admired it. But he also challenged her. Whenever she became too focused on winning, he reminded her why she started chasing success in the first place. Whenever she doubted herself, he believed in her. Whenever she pushed people away, he stayed. For the first time in her life, Audra felt understood. That terrified her. Because understanding leads to vulnerability. And vulnerability creates risk. The deeper their relationship grew, the more frightened Audra became. Not of Evan. Of losing him. She had spent her entire life preparing for disappointment. Preparing for abandonment. Preparing for betrayal. Love felt dangerous because it gave another person the ability to hurt her. The irony was that Evan never intended to hurt her. But life had other plans. Everything changed the day Audra received the offer. It was the opportunity she'd always dreamed about. A prestigious position. An enormous salary. A chance to accelerate her career years ahead of schedule. There was only one catch. The job required relocation. Immediately. For most people, the decision would have been difficult. For Audra, it should have been easy. Career first. Always. That had been her rule. The principle that guided every major choice she'd ever made. Yet when she looked at Evan, suddenly the answer wasn't so obvious. For the first time, ambition and love stood on opposite sides of the scale. And she didn't know which mattered more. Evan surprised her. Instead of asking her to stay, he encouraged her to go. "You've worked too hard for this," he told her. "You can't walk away." She stared at him. "You'd really be okay with it?" "No." His honesty caught her off guard. "I wouldn't be okay with it at all." The room fell silent. "But I'd never forgive myself if I became the reason you gave up your dream." Those words should have reassured her. Instead, they broke her heart. Because deep down she wanted him to fight for her. She wanted him to demand she stay. She wanted him to give her an excuse. But he loved her too much to do that. Weeks later she left. Both promised the distance would be temporary. Both promised they would make it work. Both believed it. At first. Long-distance relationships survive on trust. Trust became increasingly difficult. Audra's career exploded. Her schedule became relentless. Meetings. Flights. Deadlines. New opportunities. New pressures. Phone calls grew shorter. Messages became less frequent. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The connection that once felt unbreakable slowly weakened. Neither wanted to acknowledge it. Neither wanted to say what they feared. They were drifting apart. Then came the misunderstanding that changed everything. Audra attended a corporate gala. A photograph surfaced online. In the picture, she stood beside a powerful executive. The image looked intimate. Closer than reality. Unfortunately, appearances rarely care about reality. Someone sent the photograph to Evan. Without context. Without explanation. By the time Audra learned about it, damage had already been done. The argument that followed became the worst fight of their relationship. Years of fears surfaced. Accusations flew. Defenses hardened. Pride took control. Neither listened. Neither compromised. And neither realized they were standing at the edge of a cliff. One conversation could have saved them. Instead, they ended things. Just like that. A love story that once felt destined for forever ended with anger, tears, and unanswered questions. Audra told herself she was fine. She buried herself in work. She climbed higher. Achieved more. Earned more. Won more. From the outside, she appeared stronger than ever. Inside was a different story. Because success couldn't replace what she'd lost. The years that followed brought other relationships. Some serious. Some complicated. Some passionate. Some disastrous. Yet every comparison ended the same way. No one measured up to Evan. Not because he was perfect. He wasn't. But because he knew her before the walls. Before the armor. Before the carefully crafted image. He knew the real Audra. And that version of herself was becoming harder to find. Back in Genoa City, rain tapped against the office windows. Audra blinked. The memory faded. The present returned. A knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in." The door opened. Nate stepped inside. He immediately noticed something unusual. "Everything okay?" Audra forced a smile. "Of course." He didn't look convinced. "You seem distracted." "I'm fine." Another lie. And judging by his expression, Nate knew it. He sat across from her desk. "Do you want to talk about it?" "No." The answer came too quickly. Too sharply. Nate leaned back. "Must be important then." Audra sighed. Sometimes perceptive people were incredibly annoying. "It's nothing." That's usually code for something. For a moment she considered telling him. Then dismissed the idea. Some memories were too personal. Too painful. Too dangerous. Especially this one. Because admitting she still thought about Evan meant admitting a truth she had spent years avoiding. She wasn't over him. Not completely. Maybe not at all. The realization unsettled her. After everything she'd accomplished, after all the growth she'd experienced, how could one person still have this effect on her? Why did his memory still matter? Why did the thought of him still hurt? Most importantly, what would happen if he suddenly reappeared? The question lingered long after Nate left. And somewhere else, hundreds of miles away, a man named Evan Mercer stared at a plane ticket in his hand. Destination: Genoa City. A slow smile crossed his face. The timing couldn't have been more ironic. Because after all these years, he had finally decided to stop wondering what might have been. He was about to find out. And neither he nor Audra had any idea that their story was far from over. In fact, it might just be beginning again.